Now, as I promised, we are now going to try to adjust this code so that it doesn't just give us the maximum amount of profit we can make given a certain minute's worth of footage, but actually tell us exactly how we can achieve that maximum profit, which to me at least is actually the more interesting question. That is the really useful thing that we really want to know. So the way I'm going to do it is just by adjusting this code a little bit so that we do get the maximum amount of money that we can make, right? So the way we're going to do so is by creating some extra storage and then doing a couple of extra moves so that we do get the amount of storage that we have. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep a few extra numbers, create a few extra storage so that we do have the information of where we should shop our videos, how long each chunk of the videos we should have. The idea of what I'm going to try to do is not store the entire array of how we are going to shop, for example, 12 minutes of videos, what's the exact way you should shop these videos, but rather what I'm going to do is just keep the size of the first chunk of video, the size of the first video given a certain amount of minutes. For 12 minutes, for example, the first value of K that we have might be 7 minutes. The first video should be 7 minutes, and then the rest of the solution is built up recursively. So I'm just going to keep where the first initial K is, how big the first initial video is. So the first thing we're going to do to fix this code is I'm going to create a new array. I'm going to call it the first shop, right? And this again is going to be a blank array. What this will keep is where we place our first K. How do we shop the first video up in order for us to get to our objective of uploading and getting the most amount of profit out of our YouTube video? And so what I'm going to do now is just adjust our for loops a bit so that first shop gradually gets more and more filled, and it gets more and more data on where our first shop is for a certain amount of minutes worth of footage until we get to n minutes worth of footages, right? So the way I'm going to do so is just by adjusting the two cases. We know that if our video's got, well, 0 minutes, then our first shop is really nowhere because we really have nowhere to shop. So what I'm going to do is just say that first shop is just going to be 0. So that, you know, it's complete and like no one really asks any questions. Now the next thing we're going to do is just fill the first shop array for the rest of the cases when we have more than 0 minutes worth of footage. And the way I'm going to do so is just work out which value of K gives us this maximum amount of potential profits, right? For a certain amount of minutes of videos, there's going to be a value of K that gives you the most amount of profits for that certain chunk of video. We want to find what that value of K is. The way that we're going to do so, I'm going to call this value K max. Python has got a great set of libraries, and again, we're going to use something from NumPy. So we're going to do np.argmax of the potential profit array. Profit, I can't really spell profit array. And because Python starts counting stuff at 0, but the first shop starts at 1, I'm just going to add 1. And just bear with me that will be actually how we do it. And finally, this will be the maximum value of K. We're just going to add that value into the first shop, like that. So by the end of all this for loop, we're going to have an array which keeps where we place our first chunk video, the first chunk of video that we upload, in order for us to get the maximum amount of profits. Finally, we have to just give this value out. And I'm not going to be bothered to return a list or anything. I'm just going to stupidly print this whole thing out. And the way we're going to do so is by using something called a while loop. So let's say we have, I'm going to call a variable. Let's call this variable footages left, right? I'm going to say this is, let's say we have some amount of minutes worth of footage. I'm going to call this n. Right. I mean, I could just use n itself, but just to be a bit clearer, right, I'm going to use something called a while loop, right? So I'm going to say while footages left is still greater than 0. What this while loop does, it executes whatever is going to be between, underneath it, until the following condition up there doesn't satisfy anymore. So the idea what I'm going to do is the following. So suppose like for concreteness, let's suppose I have 20 minutes worth of videos. And so let's suppose that the first shop that I should put for the maximum amount of profit is at K equals to 5. The first chunk of video should be 5 minutes long. So what I'm going to do is just going to print the number 5, and then now I have 15 minutes worth of footage left. I find where I should cut that 15 minutes of footage left so that I can achieve my maximum profit. That will also be stored in the first shop array, and then I keep printing that out until I have no more footage left. So I'm going to write that code out under my while loop. So while this is true, I'm just going to print first shop given some amount of footage I have, which is just going to be stored in footages left, like that. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to take out that certain amount of video out of my footages left, right? And this could be done by footages left equals footages left minus this. So what each of the iteration of my for loop will do will be the following. It'll first take out like how much of a video I have, and then I will say let's see how big the first chunk of video should be, and then I will take that amount of video, that size of chunk of video, out from how much footage I have left. And now I'll have a smaller footage. I'll do the same process again and again until I have no more video left, and hopefully this will work. And so now if I, for example, work out the amount of maximum profit I can make from, say, a 5-minute video, right? So what this shows here is that the first video should be 2 minutes long, then the next video should be 3 minutes long, and that will get me 10 units of money. And if I check, 2 minutes and 3 minutes gets you 3 plus 7, and it does in fact get you 10, which is really cool. If I change this to 20, then I will get 63, and the way I should do so is by uploading a 3-minute video and a 17-minute video, which a 3-minute video gives you 7, a 17-minute video gives you 56, and I think that adds up to 63. That looks correct. And so that's a very simple addition how you can add to the code. That was explained a bit quickly, but let's, if you don't really understand it, you can pause and ponder to how the code would actually work, and yeah, that's pretty cool.